Good evening, this is BelGeode, and we are back with some more X-Plane 11. Howdy, folks. We are off the beaten path today. We're leaving the Raven at Teluk Beach, and we're about 5 miles away at this private island. Now, the owner of this island also owns this Grumman Goose, and he's chartered us to basically fly this aircraft to Wasior Airport and pick up some passengers to take to Teluk Beach. The aircraft that we're going to be using tonight is the fabulous DDenn Design's Grumman Goose. And folks, wait till you see the interior of this thing. Oh my god, it's so incredible. Alright, so this is going to be our ride for today. And it's an excellent opportunity for me to brush up on my seaplane skills. Let's hop inside. Let me show you what he's got in this. Alright, so as you can see, this is the interior of the DDenn Design's Grumman Goose. And I have got to say, this is quite possibly one of the best depictions of the goose that I have ever seen. I mean, look at this. Holy crap, this is well designed. So we've even got like lights here that we could turn on and off. There's a little switch on the wall, which if I could ever get my mouse cursor to show up, I might actually be able to show you. Here we go. So there we go. This, of course, illuminates the cabin at night. It's not so effective in the daytime, but it's good to know that it's still there. And then we've got a little window on this side here. We can kind of poke our head out, take a quick look at the aircraft from the inside out. It's one of the beautiful things about X-Plane is the fact that whenever an aircraft is modeled, all of it is modeled as one model, which is really cool. Alright, we can actually close this, so there we go. Alright. Now the other really neat thing that this aircraft has in there is a toilet. I'm not kidding you folks, there's an actual restroom on this thing. Let's take a quick look inside. And of course, the restroom comes with its own light switch, so we might as well flick that on. Close the door, or open the door, excuse me. Alright, check this out. Gotta mind your head when you're coming in here. Ta-da! Look at that! Of course, I have no idea if the toilet is really fully functional, but just the fact that he thought enough to put something like that in here is incredible. And look, folks, the toilet paper roll is on the correct way. This is the way it's done right here. So, huge brownie points to DDenn for doing that. That was absolutely incredible. So yeah, if I wanted to, I could spend this entire flight just in the John here. I'll just sit on this porta pot and call it done. You guys can fly yourself. Alright, so yeah, that is the bathroom. Okay, so now that we have that closed up, let's go ahead and close our bathroom. We'll also turn off the light because we don't want too much of a drain on the battery. And we'll proceed to get our main cabin closed. Off that ladder. Okay, good deal. Wow. Hands down, this is one of the most amazing aircraft that I have seen so far in X-Plane. Just the fact that it's got all of these little vintage touches to it is what makes it worthwhile to me. Alright, but I've also got some stuff to show you up front. And I love how big these cabin windows are too. They're actually larger than modern day cabin windows, so that's pretty awesome. But yeah, what I want to show you up front is even more impressive. Mind your head as you're going through here though. Okay, so we have the flight deck, but you will notice there's a little door at the front. Now, I didn't even realize that the Grumman Goose had something like this, because all of the models of Goose that I've ever flown in the flight simulators of past, I've never had that modeled. But sure enough, if you look under here, actually let me kind of crouch under here. Look at that. Yeah, folks, There's a whole section of the Goose that I didn't know existed. Let's check it out. Gotta kind of squeeze through here. Don't mind me. Hey, look, there's our anchor. Cool. Alright, and then now that we're here, I can stand up and look around. Holy crap. Is that not the most awesome thing ever? So here I am standing in front of this Grumman Goose. If I wanted to, I could grab a fishing pole and just go fishing off the bow here. That would be so great. Yeah, look at that. See these big honking engines here? Wow. Everything is modeled in detail. The engine covers can come off as well. I don't really feel the need to take them off right now, but you can take my word for it. You can see the inside of these massive radial engines here. Alright, well that is just too cool. Okay, so let's get back to the cockpit here and we'll get ready for our little flight out to Wasior. And this is going to be the fun part, is trying to navigate my way back while inside the Oculus Rift. Alright, I'm thinking if I crouch down here, able to squeeze through. Okay, before I get too far though, I am going to want to close that door, so let's do that real quick. I'm assuming that's locked and won't fly open in mid-flight. I'm hoping anyway. Alright, our anchor is up even though the parking brakes are on, which in X-plane, the parking brakes in a float plane acts as the anchor, so in a way the anchor's still down. Alright, so let's back up here. And we'll go ahead and close this interior door. And this little thing right here, I may or may not show it to you. Basically, it's a touch screen that you can pop out. You can put any gauge you want on that touch screen. So if you had like a proper moving map, you could put it on there as well. But we do have a GPS, as I'm sure you'll see there. Alright, but let's go ahead and see if we can get into the pilot seat here. And then we should be good to go. Alright, I'm going to maneuver my way over. There we go. Alright. So now I got to fix my real life seat to match where I'm sitting in this aircraft. So don't mind me. Alright, I think right there should be just about good. Alright, so yes, like I said, today we're going to be going to Wasior, which is an airport that I built from the ground up. It was one of the airports that was missing from this Suzy Air package that I had gotten. And to be honest with you, the default airport is one of those 2D flat airports that you find on the X-plane scenery gateway. So naturally, I had to take a little bit of creative license and come up with something. I originally based it on the actual airport, but from some of the things that I saw at that airport, it didn't quite mesh too well in X-plane, so I had to use a little bit of creative license. So we are going to be flying over there in a moment. Let me just go ahead and get our battery on and our generator. Alright, make sure we have enough gas. There's gas gauge for the right side, and we are right about there. So yeah, not too shabby. We'll check the left side. Yep, equal amount in the tanks, so yep, pretty good. I'm also going to close this window over this side here. Alright, good deal. Okay, so let's go ahead and get everything started up here. Alright, so the batteries are on, so let's get our avionics on. There we go. We already have our GPS program to Whiskey Alpha Sierra Whiskey, which is Wasior. I'm going to take the liberty of setting our transponder on. We'll just put it to alt right now. That way I don't have to mess with it later. I do need to get some of these lights on, so we'll get our navigation lights and we'll get our beacon lights. We'll turn on a taxi and a landing light in a moment. Okay, engines. We're going to start with the right prop. So let me get the mixture levers up. You can do them individually, but because I have it bound to my joystick, I just have like one control for both engines. Alright, here we go with the right engine. Clear prop. Oh, listen to that throaty growl. Oh yes, this aircraft is truly a thing of beauty. Alright, well now that we got that on, let's get the left engine going. And we'll even go outside for this one. Clear prop. Okay, so we've got two good engines here. I'm going to want to get the carb heat on. So we'll pop the left one and the right one, if I can grab it. It doesn't exactly match up properly in FlyInside. Okay, there we go. So we've got carb heat on, and our gauges are all looking good. We will not need flaps for takeoff. We're just going to step taxi out there past all of those little buoys, and then we'll make a right turn and just go ahead and take off. We should be good to go. One thing I am going to need to do, I need to set my GPS to GPS, and I can actually just use this little switch, this handy switch on the left-hand side there. Okay, everything looks good there. Altimeter is set to 29.92, which is sea level, and as you can see, since we're on the water, we are at sea level, so this is good. Alright, I haven't yet figured out a way to change our course knob, but I am going to change our heading knob, because I'm going to need it when I activate the autopilot. And I'm thinking we should probably start at heading 330, that should be fine. Water rudder, we'll make sure that's down. Yes, it is currently in the down position. And everything else appears to be set. So let's get our taxi lights on. We'll turn on the landing lights in a moment after we've step taxied our way out. Alright folks, let's get going. So we're going in that direction, and we'll see if we can make it to open water for our takeoff. Alright, we need to swing out a little bit to the right here. Hoping I don't clip this buoy. We'll turn a little bit more dramatic. You know, the funny thing about this aircraft, it is easier to steer on the water than it is for me to steer on the land. Really don't know why that is, but hey, it's the Goose. She has her own quirks to her. Alright, but we are currently in the sea lane, and like I said, normally we would be using this as a runway. That's what Laminar Research intended for you to do. In this case, we're just going to use it as our taxiway. So as soon as we get out to the last marker there, we're going to hang a right, and we're going to take off in that direction. Now, if we were to go to the left, we would end up back at Teluk Beach, where I left our Raven. We'll pick up with the Raven a little bit later on. Alright, let's go back to the outside view as we step taxi out. Okay, so we're making our right turn now, so we want to line up on a heading of about 330 or maybe 340, and that should be good for our takeoff. Alright, I'm thinking right here should be fine. There's no shoals around, there's no shallows, so yeah, we should be able to take off just like this. Alright, let's get our landing lights on. Needless to say, since I am in a seaplane, there will be no brakes down, throttles up. However, there will be some throttles up, so let me give it some downward pitch, so that way we stay on the water. And we'll go ahead and kick in the throttle. Here we go, folks. Next stop, Wasior. Alright, airspeed is alive. Just past stall speed. See if we can bring it up to about 75, 80 knots. Alright, right there is good. Let's rotate. Okay, so our plan of attack is we're going to go through this little corridor right here, and then we're going to follow the coastline around until we get to where Wasior is. And now that we've got some decent positive rate, we'll go ahead and get our floats up. Okay, starboard float's coming up. Port side float is coming up. And look at that, I've never seen those houses there before. That must be the effect of W2XP. That's pretty cool. That is pretty cool. Okay, I'm also going to close this window because otherwise it's going to get rather windy in here. Alright, there we go. And what is our current altitude? About 1,600, closing in on 2,000. Excellent. So yeah, we'll just make it right through this little notch here. Build up some more airspeed. And then we'll get going on our way. One thing I would like to do, however, is change our GPS around a little bit. So let me see if I... this is going to be interesting trying to click this thing while on the move. I need the little one facing in the opposite direction. There we go. Alright, I'm not seeing our destination, so I'm probably gonna need to hit direct to and hit enter. Actually, you know what? Let's make my life a little bit easier here. We'll use this. Alright, there we go. Alright, now we can try and do this again. There we go. Jeez, it only took me forever. Alright, so we need to be heading to the west. Let's see if we can swing us around here. What's our current altitude? Just about 3,000. Wow, we got up here quickly. Alright, I might bring us back down a little bit here. Okay, there we go. That's where I want to be pointed. Alright, now we can activate our autopilot, which is this little square right here. So I've got our pitch and roll trim activated right now, so we're also going to want our altitude. And we want heading hold. Normally I would choose like a nav hold or something along those lines. However, for this particular trip, since we're just going direct to, we can do without it for the time being. Aside from which, I kind of want to get an idea of how far off course I'm veering, so that'll be fine for me. Now, you may have noticed when I began this video that we were in X-Plane 11.05. Now, X-Plane 11.10 is out. However, I am currently having an issue with FlyInside where it doesn't look right inside the headset. It might look right recording-wise, but I can't fly if everything is a little bit distorted, and I can't yet figure out what's causing the distortion. And whoa, it looks like SkyMax Pro decided to put some clouds right in our way. Holy crap, they came out of nowhere. Alright, clearly this is not VFR, and I really want to stay VFR, so I'm going to turn off our altitude hold here. I'm going to bring us down. Actually, I think that turned off all of the autopilot by my changing the trim. Not a problem, though. Yeah, I just want to get below these clouds here. So yeah, as I started to say, with FlyInside right now, I'm having an issue where everything looks a little distorted. It almost looks the same way as it does to me currently in 11.5 whenever I zoom in. The world that you see around you tends to skew itself from side to side. And actually, truth be told, these clouds that I'm seeing from SkyMax Pro, even though they're absolutely gorgeous, they too are kind of skewing from side to side whenever I pan my head around. But I don't necessarily think that is a FlyInside thing. I think that's just more the nature of how SkyMax Pro did their clouds. I don't know if they've yet optimized everything to work in VR, or even if they have VR themselves to be able to see what I'm seeing. Alright, this looks like we are just about below the clouds, so I'm going to go ahead and turn our autopilot back on. Altitude hold. And heading hold. Okay, there we go. So we are now at about 2640. That should be fine. So the airport that we're going to is really not that far off from where we are right now. It's on the other side of this mountain. It's just that this mountain tends to go up as high as about 6, or in some cases even 7,000 feet. And I really want to keep this thing VFR, so as long as we stay at this altitude and I can see the top of the mountain, then I can skirt around it. But as you can tell, this day just seems to be getting more and more inclement. There's probably going to come a time where I won't be able to fly VFR at all. If that happens, I will simply wait until the next day and we will continue our Papua tour. We're going to need to make it back to Teluk Beach eventually with this Goose. So after we pick up our passengers over at Wasior, the next episode will be us heading back to Teluk Beach. Unless, of course, I change my mind and decide to do something completely different, which could happen. Could happen. But yeah, 11.10, one of the things that I can say about it when I'm not using VR, yeah, the optimizations that they put in there are excellent. I'm getting way more frames per second than I have ever gotten before using X-Plane. So from that standpoint, Laminar Research did a phenomenal job with it. However, until we sort out the VR issues, FlyInside is pretty much a dead issue for me as far as 11.10 goes. But I will say this. I don't know how many of you may have caught the patch notes that came out for 11.10. They said that they also upgraded the rendering engine. Now what that tells me is they're already laying the groundwork for the native VR that they plan on having with 11.20. And it is also my understanding that the developer that's working on that is working hand in hand with the 11.10 development. So he's making sure that everything is on target. So I would not be too surprised if we do not, or if we get VR at some point in time in the very near future. I'm hoping before the end of the year, but it's already December as this video is going out, so I don't know, we'll see. Maybe it might be early 2018 that we get it. Either way, one thing is pretty much for sure. Once we get native VR, I will be uninstalling FlyInside for X-Plane 11, at least for 11.10 and 11.20. I might just keep the old 11.5 around just in case I run into any issues and I still want to make some more episodes using some of the older versions of X-Plane. But that is the plan, man. I cannot wait for native VR to come to X-Plane 11 because I am pretty sure what they can put into this thing will probably have the same kind of optimization as, say, Aerofly FS2. And we've seen how Aerofly FS2 does their native VR. It is out of this world. Between them and DCS, right now they've pretty much nailed the whole VR aspect to their flight sims. Not quite sure how Prepared is doing. I've heard that they also have native VR, but I don't know the status of it or how good it is. And let's not forget, too, that FlyInside themselves are trying to come out with their own flight simulator. I gave you a little bit of a preview of that when I met them at Flight SimCon in June of this year, 2017. I didn't think that it was ready for prime time, and as much as I hate to say it, it sounds like they're still not ready for prime time. They were hoping to ship by November, and here it is, it's already December. But I'm still wishing them all the best with it, and I'm hoping that they are able to flesh everything out and get it all going. And I'm really curious to see what they come up with, so hopefully they'll remember me when it comes time to beta test. Okay, I'm sure you can see a mountain in our way. We're going to need to get around that, so now would be an excellent time for me to use our heading hold and swing us around to the right. Right there should do the trick. About a heading of 350, so we'll run parallel to the coastline here. And you can already see there is a mountain peak that is below the cloud deck. That's what I'm looking for, because that's where I'm going to be making my crossover. In the interim, however, how about we go outside and take a look at this beautiful, majestic island, now with SkyMax Pro involved. As we did our little outside view there, it came to my attention that I forgot to do something very important. It doesn't really have much of a bearing on the aerodynamics of the craft, but it could damage the water rudder. Forgot to pull it up. There we go. That should take care of that. The water rudder is now up and safe. Yeah, I don't think it would really humbug us as far as flying around. However, it may cause an issue when I go to lower the landing gear and that tail wheel needs to come out. So probably a good idea that I get it up. And I gotta say, I'm not sure what DDenn used when they came up with this as far as audio, but this feels like a Grumman Goose. Small confession, this has been one of those airplanes that I would have loved to be able to get my hands on. Don't ask me how I would be able to pull that off, but if one were to ever come up secondhand, I would love like a fixer-upper type project with a Grumman Goose. This thing, it's kind of like a flying hippie bus to me. I mean, look at that. You know, you could lay it out as basically a mobile home and then just fly it all over the place. It would be so awesome to own a Grumman Goose. And there are a number of privately owned Grumman geese that are flying around now. There was one that has a similar livery to what I'm in right now, which, by the way, is an add-on livery. I'll have the link to it down below. But I wanted to have that livery created for this episode, except I ran out of time and couldn't get it done in time. So you'll have to forgive me on that one. Alright, but I do see the end of the landmass here, so I'm going to set up our heading hold about 90 degrees to the left. Right about there should be good. And let's see where that takes us. And these clouds feel like they're getting a little bit lower. It's probably just my imagination, but we haven't changed in altitude here. We're still exactly where we were. And these clouds definitely do feel like they're getting a little lower. Alright, let's check our GPS here and see how far we have to go to get to Wasior. Oh, we're not too far, about 15 nautical miles away. Okay, that is most certainly doable. Alright, we should be coming out of our turn right now. And we're going to take it to the end of that little bay, and then we'll make another left turn. It'll be just like NASCAR. Okay, so there's the bay that I was looking for. As soon as we pass that, we will begin our left-hand turn. We're getting a little closer. We're about 13 miles out. And look at that. There's some more buildings down there. Now, I had mentioned earlier when I pointed out those other buildings that I used W2XP. There's a caveat with that I'm going to explain to you. W2XP used to be where you downloaded the countries that you wanted to add the extra autogen to, and of course the road networks and everything. They changed this. I was totally unaware that this had happened until very recently someone pointed it out to me on Facebook. The way that they do it now, W2XP is now the program itself with a slick GUI interface or GUI interface that will allow you to pick and choose which areas you want to download and turn into overlay maps. Now, it's very versatile. You can set it up to where, you know, you have trees popping through, or you could set it up where you could build, you know, just the roads and buildings and so on. It's extremely powerful and extremely useful. It's a heck of a lot better than the way that they originally had this thing set up. So what I did, I used W2XP as well as the OSM website. If you're familiar with OSM at all, this should all kind of make sense to you. And basically it took the OSM data for all of Papua and Indonesia and converted that to what you're seeing below. That being, you know, where all the forests are, where the roads are, and of course all the various villages and towns around the area. We can't really see too much here because honestly, there's not much here. But as we make our way to the left and head towards Wasior, you will see that there is definitely signs of life. Speaking of which, I'm thinking now would be a great time for us to start making a descent. So let me go ahead and turn off our autopilot. Okay, autopilot is now off. Alright, I might also want to zoom this puppy in. Alright, that should be good. Okay, so we're going to swing around here, and we're going to follow the coastline in. So you can already start to see signs of life that I was talking about. Now, one of the only downsides with using W2XP, because I'm also using a specialized mesh that also functions as kind of like a land class editor. So in other words, it's telling us where all the forests are. There are some issues using W2XP with that. Most notably, all of my roads, if they intersect a forest, they now have trees all over them. You can't see the road at all. But it's a minor annoyance to deal with, because I can always just imagine that here in Papua there's a shortage of lawnmowers. Or lumberjacks, as the case may be. Yeah, I know, silly joke. Alright, let me see. We are heading directly for Wasior. Now, I do know that we're going to need to take off to the north. So I'm thinking what I'm going to do here is I'm going to swing out to the right. We're probably going to also want to drop in altitude. So we pitch our nose down a bit here. Right now I have it set for about 700 feet per minute, and that should be fine. I mentioned before about the airport that we're going to, that basically I took a lot of artistic license to create it. I think it came out really well, and it matches perfectly with W2XP. Some of the things that I added that you won't find there in real life, Wasi lights. Because coming down in this big beefy bird, I'm going to need all the help I can get. So yes, please give me some Wasi lights. That'd be awesome. Matter of fact, I'm not sure if you can see it, but it is directly ahead. There's like a lighter green patch, and just off to the right of that, you can see some beachfront property. Our airport is right over there. I'm going to swing out a little bit more. There's another little village there for you. And you can see what I was talking about with the road. There's a road that goes into the forest. The road is still there underneath it, but I haven't yet found a good way to get those trees off the road. If I try to put the W2XP layer on top, it'll completely delete all of my trees, which I don't want. Although I will say this, with the trees gone, your FPS goes through the roof. So maybe there's something to getting rid of all these trees after all. But there you go. Now you can start to see the towns coming up ahead. And you can probably see the little green patch a little bit better, and that is where our airport is. So there's a town just to the south. I'm assuming that town is actually Wasior. That is where we're going to be overflying. And then we'll make our left base and come on in. I also placed a little guy that flies around in a helicopter, so I'm hoping he's going to get out of our way by the time we get to where we need to be. Alright, for now though, let's go ahead and drop our power. It's telling me I need to have the gear down. I'm going to ignore that for now. Trim us up a bit here so that way we're not dropping like a stone. Okay, there we go. And we're within flap limitation speed. I'm going to go ahead and open this window here, because the first thing I want to do is get this gear down. This is your gear lever. Yep, you got to turn it. And let me make sure the gear is going down. Yes, it is. Okay, we're good to go. All right. Let's concentrate on aviating here so I'm not like going all over the sky. I'm also going to get our flaps down, flaps 1. There we go. Probably should have done all this while I was under autopilot influence here. But there you can see Wasior Airport and of course the town of Wasior around it. All those nifty little palm trees. I try to keep the theme the same as the rest of the other Suzy Air airports that we've been using thus far. There's always those little coconut palm trees. So I made sure to have them there because they actually help me as far as locating the airport. I'm going to give it a little bit of throttle here. I thought about maybe putting a cruise liner on that wharf, However, I keep forgetting to do it, so we'll have to live with it. Alright, let's continue our downwind leg. Okay, I'm gonna drop to flaps 2, so we're gonna bubble up here. Make sure our engines are looking good, carb heat is fine, everything is looking good, and sure enough, we are ballooning. Man, you can't take your eyes off of this thing for a hot second. Everything could just go pear-shaped. Okay, but we are about 7,000 feet, or excuse me, 700 feet. What am I saying? 7,000. Not gonna land that way. Alright, I'm thinking we're going to take it down to just past this beach here, and we'll make our left-hand turn. So right about now. Try to do a coordinated turn here, although I don't know if I'm going to end up above or below the glide slope. We will find out momentarily. Alright, airport, where are you? There you are. Okay, and it looks like we are right on glide slope. Very nice. Alright, so all I need to do is line us up properly. Cut our power back so we start descending. And this should be good. Look at that. That is perfect. See, that is why I put those Wasi lights there. Although you'll also notice on our flight path, we've got a number of tall buildings. Yeah, we're going to have to Superman those. We're going to have to leap tall buildings in a single bound here. But as long as I keep our descent rate to about 500 feet per minute, it should be able to get us down with no problems. And look at that, there's even a church off to the left side. Alright, let's take a very quick look outside, and then we will get this bird down. Alright, this is going to get a little floaty. And there's a stall warning. Very nice. I'm not so concerned about the stall warning on this aircraft because that just tells me, especially if I'm in ground effect, that I'm doing okay. I don't want to dare try coming any faster than that because, let's face it, I am not 100% on these seaplanes. So I don't want to jinx anything. I am going to do a bit of a turnaround here, so make sure I'm past the Wasi lights. And we'll slowly but surely make our way around without killing ourselves. There we go, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Wasior. Woohoo! Alright, so we're going to pull up to where our passengers will need to board. And then we'll call this episode done. On our next episode, we will pick up with the trip back to Teluk Beach. And we'll hop back into our lovely Raven and continue our legs around Papua. We've got like about 3 or 4 extra legs that I want to do before I'm pretty much done with Papua for the time being. I keep finding interesting airports to fly into, and I'm going to try and show you some of those on the, not the next episode, but the episode after that, so stay tuned for that. I hope you are enjoying these little episodes here. I'm finding this country extremely fascinating, so I hope I'm not boring you with my flights here. But yeah, look at how W2XP represented this. I don't know if this is what it looks like in real life, but I will tell you this. This looks amazing. Matter of fact, the only bad thing that W2XP did, you'll notice that silver car parked up underneath my pedestrian walkway. Yeah, he needs to move it or lose it. Alright, but here we are. This is where we need to be. Perfect. Actually, I could probably turn us around a little bit. There we go. Right there should be good. Alright, so like I said, welcome to Wasior, and check out Mr. Big Pimpin' with his red-headed wife. Very nice. I saw that guy and I just had to put him in my scenery somewhere. He just looks so ridiculous. The sad part about it is, put a purple hat on him, he'd probably look like me. Alright, let's turn everything off. There we go. We can close our carb heat while we're at it. You'll notice that there are birds chirping. That is also a DDenn trademark, as I'm sure you probably remember on the video that I did showcasing iBlueYonder's new scenery, or new scenery for XP. This comes with the aircraft. Alright, but everything appears to be good to go, so let me go ahead and turn off our avionics. And we'll get all our lights off. And we'll call this done. Alright. I'm going to turn off our generator and one of our 2 batteries. I like to keep the second battery on just in case I need to use stuff like the lights or whatnot. Alrighty folks, so that will do it for today's episode. As always, thank you for watching. This has been BelGeode, and I've been flying in X-Plane 11.05. I'm not quite ready to show you 11.10 just yet until I solve my FlyInside issues. Regardless, if you've enjoyed what you've seen, please feel free to give me a like. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already done so. And we will be back for the return trip in this bird to Teluk Beach, where we will pick up with the Raven and start heading inland, show you some of the really short mountain strips that exist in Papua. Until then, I hope you all have an excellent weekend, and I will catch you all later. Ciao!